Remember last week when my window was halfway covered in snow? Well, this week it's completely covered in snow. So, due to my poor lighting and my personal design choices, I look like death. So today we're talking about a place that was, quote, doomed to be haunted before it was ever even really built. Which, goals. The Whaley House is in San Diego, California. So before the Whaley House was completed in 1875, the ground that it was built on was actually a graveyard and a gallows. The most famous hanging that had happened there was that of Yankee Jim Robinson. Yankee Jim Robinson's hanging is so popular because he was 6'4", and because of the length of the rope he was hanged from, he didn't quite hang. See, the way that people are hanged is that, in theory, the rope around their neck will snap their neck as soon as they fall, which is horrible. But what's even worse is that Yankee Jim was tall enough that the rope couldn't snap his neck. And this was still back in the time when you would take your wife and children and go down and see the local hanging. So a very large crowd of people watched Yankee Jim slowly suffocate to death because he wasn't able to just die because of his height. Yeah, that's pretty horrible. I imagine I'd haunt the place too. So Thomas Whaley, the original founder of the Whaley House, was actually present for Yankee Jim's hanging, and he still decided to buy the land and build a house on top of it. Yeah, you can imagine why it's pretty haunted. But that stopped absolutely no one, because Thomas and his wife, who I did not write the name of, that's really bad note-taking on my part, I'm sorry. So Thomas and his wife had 6 children, and they all moved into the Whaley house. Almost immediately, people started having paranormal experiences. Most notably, the entire family would hear footsteps from places where you should not be hearing footsteps, and they sounded as if they came from a very large man, which raised the assumption that it was Yankee Jim who was marching around. The Whaley family took this in stride and didn't think too much of it. However, tragedy was never a stranger to the Whaley family. Thomas Whaley Jr. died of scarlet fever at 18 months old. A fire burnt down their general supply store. On the bright side, their daughter Violet got married. And then not 2 weeks later, he left her because he only married her for her dowry, which he discovered he wasn't going to get any of. Yeah, that's not actually a bright side. It gets even worse when you find out that Violet killed herself a year later. Yeah, she got a lot of public shame for getting married and then returning home without a husband and alone. Both things that shouldn't really happen at that time. Thomas Whaley and his wife actually started renting out rooms to other people just so that they could make a little bit of extra money after their storage burned down. However, the Whaley house was already pretty notorious for being haunted, so on one side it drove away vandals, and on the other, they couldn't get anyone to rent their rooms. Over time, all of the other residents of the Whaley house died, some from natural causes, some from not so natural causes, but that was inevitable for them anyways. From 1905 to 1908, the Whaley house fell into disrepair because no one was living in it. But then in 1908, Francis Whaley took over renovations for the house. Francis Whaley also rented out rooms, and he also advertised the place as a sort of historical monument. A few people who were renting out rooms did also pass away as they were residents of the place. It sounds like I'm portraying this place as a death trap, but it really isn't. People die, it's what they do. Their deaths mostly weren't intentional. Moving on to the 200s, the Save Our Heritage organization took on stewardship of the Whaley House. They have done numerous reservations, and they have opened the place as a museum of sorts, where you can take tours, and unlike many places, the Whaley House does not cover up how haunted it is. In fact, they actively tell the stories. Moving on to the hauntings. So the first named spirit that we know of is, of course, Yankee Jim. The most that we can chalk up to being Yankee Jim is the heavy footfalls, of course, and occasionally windows will unlatch themselves and suddenly open. I guess Jim just wanted some fresh air. Another apparition that has been seen is that of Thomas Whaley himself. He's seen in a frock coat and pantaloons, and when I say pantaloons, I can't help but think underwear, but I know that's not what it is. Oh, yeah, that's the name. Okay, Thomas's wife is called Anna. Anna Whaley's apparition has also been seen on the grounds, mostly on the first floor and in the garden. She was actually known for baking cookies for the neighborhood kids, and if you smell cookies, then that's a good sign that she's nearby. Speaking of cookies, there's a story that a little girl found out that Anna was making cookies, and she got so excited for those cookies that she ran to the Whaley house. And she ran so fast that she did not see the cord that was at neck level, and it killed her as she ran into it. Honestly, such a mood. If I ever die, it's probably going to be because of cookies. Unfortunately, as much of a mood as this is, there is no evidence that this girl ever actually existed. Now, there have been apparitions seen of a small girl, however, it doesn't seem likely that that's her story. Moving on to one of my favorite apparitions, there's Dolly. Dolly used to be the Whaley house pet. A dog. Adorable. I love them. I love animal apparitions. I mean, it's sad that they haven't moved on, but also it's so wholesome. Actually, I have a ghost cat in my house. I've tried to make her move on, but she just hasn't. Other paranormal experiences of the Whaley house include piano echoes. There isn't a single piano in the Whaley house anymore. Swinging chandeliers, a classic. Doors opening and closing on their own. Smells of bread, pie, and tobacco. The bread and pie I'm willing to bet is Anna, and the tobacco is probably Thomas. And baby sounds. If you remember, Thomas Whaley Jr. died at 18 months from scarlet fever. His spirit's probably still around. Now, a common question with ghosts is, are they malicious? And pretty much none of the ghosts at Whaley House are. Now, that doesn't mean go around mocking them and making fun of them. They are gracious hosts. However, they can mess you up. And that's my brief summary of the Whaley House. If there's something I missed, don't forget to leave it in the comments below, because I am still new at this. I wonder if that was a spirit that just went across my screen, like a ghost orb, or if it was just a speck of dust. If you're a spirit, could you go in front of the camera again? This is just an experiment. You don't have to. It'd be cool if you did. Understandable. Have a nice day. That's all for this video. This is Mad Witch signing out. Keep it spooky.